Alright, today's lesson is going to be on section 7.3 and 7.4, solving systems of equations by elimination. First question we're going to answer is a story problem. If one apple plus one banana costs $1.25 and one apple plus two bananas costs $2, how much does it cost for one banana and one apple? So we got to identify the two things we're trying to solve for in this case. So we're trying to figure out how much does it cost. So we're trying to figure out how much does it cost for one banana and one apple. Let's go ahead and underline those two things. One banana and one apple. We're going to say one banana is going to represent X, so that would be the cost for one banana, and Y is going to represent the cost for one apple. So they give us an equation here that we can set up. It says one apple plus one banana costs $1.25. So we can set up an equation using that. One apple is 1y plus one banana, which is 1x, equals $1.25. So the cost of one apple times 1, because we only have one of those, plus the cost of one banana times 1 will give us $1.25. And then they say that one apple plus two bananas costs $2. So one apple, two bananas costs $2. So we can say one apple, 1y, plus 2x equals $2. Okay, we have a system of equation here. We got systems of equation here. We have two variables in one equation, two variables in the other equation. They're exact same variables. We've already went through how to solve these using graphing and using substitution. So the next one we're gonna talk about, and the last one, is elimination. Elimination, I think, is pretty easy. It's not my favorite, but it's the one that I think it's a pretty easy concept, and I think kids like it the most. What we're going to do is we're going to eliminate a variable by adding or subtracting these equations together. So we're going to take this equation here and we're going to add it to this equation. So I'm going to set it right underneath here. So we got one equation here, another equation here. We're going to add these together. We want to cancel a variable. Alright, so we got two equations. We're going to add these together. We want to cancel the variables. We want to either cancel the x variables or the y variables. Well, in this case, the y variables, we got 1y and 1y. If we were to subtract these two, they would cancel out. 1y minus 1y would give you 0 y's. So they would be gone from the equation. So what we're going to do this, we're going to multiply this whole thing. Alright, we're going to multiply this whole thing by -1. And when we do that, that's going to make this -1y. It's going to make this -2x. And it'll make the 2 a -$2. So all we do is multiply by a negative number so we can add these equations together. Now we're done with that middle part. We can add the two equations together, this equation with this equation. 1y plus a -1y cancels out and give you a 0y. 1x plus a -2x gives you a -1x, and $1.25 plus a -$2 gives you -75 cents. So you can rewrite this equation as -1x equals -0.75, and solve for x by dividing by -1, and it tells you x equals 75 cents. So what was x? X was our bananas. Our bananas cost us 75 cents a piece. So now that we have x equals 0.75, we can plug it into either of these two equations. We're going to take it and we're going to plug it into this equation here. So we have 1y plus 2 times 0.75 equals $2. 2 times 0.75 gives you $1.50. So we have 1y plus $1.50 equals $2. And then we can subtract $1.50 from each side. And when we do that, we end up with 1y equals 50 cents. So that tells us y equals 50 cents. So one apple costs us 50 cents. One banana costs us 75 cents. Let's take a look at a system of equation without a story problem here. We're just going to do this for a little bit of repetition, a little bit of practice. We've got two equations. Let's set them on top of each other. So I'm going to take this equation and move it over here. Move it right there. So this is going to say 3x minus y equals 16. What I want to do is I want to look in these two equations, look for the variable that I can cancel out when I add these together. Well, 2x and 3x aren't going to cancel out easily. But y and negative y, if I add these together, plus a positive y plus a negative y will give you 0y. So let's add the two equations together. That gives us 5x. Positive y plus a negative y gives you 0y. 16 and 9 gives you 25. So you see the 0y is out. We don't have to write that there anymore. We can say 5x equals 25. We can divide by 5 on each side, so x equals 5. Now we can take this, just like we would with substitution, plug it into another equation. So let's plug it into this equation here. That's 3 times 5 minus y equals 16. 3 times 5 is 15 minus y equals 16. We're going to subtract 15 from both sides. So negative y equals 1. Don't forget about this negative sign. Then divide by negative 1. So y equals negative 1. So x equals 5, y equals negative 1. We think those are the right answers. Let's check them. We're going to plug them into each of these. So 5 goes in here, negative 1 here. 2 times 5 is 10. Minus 1 is 9. So that works out. We're going to take 5 here, negative 1 here. 3 times 5 is 15. Minus a negative means plus 1, so 15 plus 1 is 16. So this is an answer and this is an answer. And let's look at the last one here. This one's going to be a little bit different. The first two equations we've had, we could just add them together really quickly and cancel them out. This one's not going to be as easy. We have 3x minus 2y equal 2 and 5x minus 5y equal 10. We're going to take this equation and move it over right here. So it's 5x minus 5y equals 10. When you look at these two equations, you'll notice we don't have the x's or the y's the same at all. So we can't add this together and cancel anything out. What you want to do then is you need to multiply each equation. It's kind of like finding a common denominator. You need to multiply each equation by a certain number to get so either the y's are the same number or the x's are the same number, so that when you add them together they cancel. I'm going to cancel out the x's. So I've got 3 here and 5 here, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5 and the bottom equation by 3 so that they each equal 15. So I'm going to multiply this equation by 5 and this equation by 3. Alright, I'm going to do that right down here. So 5 times 3x is 15x. So this equation is coming right here. 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times negative 2y is negative 10y. And 5 times 2 is 10. Now I'm going to multiply this one by 3. This is 5 times 3 is 15x, so that's right here. 15x. 3 times 5 is negative 15y. And 3 times 10 is 30. Now you notice that x's are the same now. All I did was increase this equation by 5, by times 5, and increase this equation by times 3. Now the x's are the same. If I were to subtract these, alright, I would cancel out the x values. So I'm going to subtract these by multiplying this bottom equation by -1 first. Alright, because that'll make everything negative, changes all the signs. Then when I add the equations together, it's like subtracting. So multiply by -1, that's negative 15x plus 15y equals -30. So by multiplying by -1, I have just done basically the subtraction. So now I can add these together. 15x and -15x is 0x. -10 and 15y is going to be positive 5y. And 10 and -30 is going to be -20. The x's don't matter now. We can, 0 x's, so we can get rid of that. That's 5y equals -20. Divide by 5 on each side, and y equals -4. Now we take this and plug it into either of our equations, this one or this one. We'll go over to this side. So we're going to plug -4 in for y and solve for x. So we took this and put it over in this and for y. So -5 times -4, that's a positive 20. We're going to subtract 20 on each side. It's 5x equals -10. And now we'll divide 5 on each side. And x equals -2. We've got x equal -2, y equal -4. We probably need to check these. We'll go back up to the original equations. X is -2, y is -4, 3 times -2 is -6, -4 times -2 is a positive 8, so it's -6 plus 8. -6 plus 8 is 2, so that works out. Got a -2 here, and a -4 here. 5 times -2 is -10. -4 times -5 is positive 20. -10 plus 20 is 10. So it works out for both. This is the answer for x. This is the answer for y. So elimination is just another way to solve a systems of equation.